What's up, guys? This is going to be the full card breakdown for UFC Fight Night, Overeem versus Harris. It's coming up later today, 6 o'clock for the prelims. Another really good card. I mean, this whole week, we've had nothing but good fights. So I hope these guys are getting paid. The two main events with Gaethje and Ferguson, and then with Smith and Teixeira, you know, those guys, for not being able to train properly, performed really well. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully Dana's paying these guys for these performances. And this is another stat card. So for as far as betting, on Wednesday was a really good night. Saturday was okay. I mean, a few of the value bets, of course, didn't come through with Dominic Cruz, Jeremy Stevens, Anthony Pettis hit. You know, most of the parlay options came through, but again, a couple of the lines that I thought that were off, couldn't capitalize on those. So then Wednesday night, though, really good night. Took advantage of the live betting just because I thought a lot of the lines were pretty accurate. The only loss on the night was the main event with Anthony Smith. But again, a really good fight. I actually thought that could have been stopped a little bit early just because he went face down. I think it was early in the second round. He got hit with a big shot by Glover, and it looked like the ref didn't want to stop it. Those are the fights where you got to wonder, are refs betting fights? I mean, what's causing a ref to let a fighter take a beating like that? But, you know, we'll get into this card. So first fight of the night, we got Don'Tale Mayes and Rodrigo NASCIMENTO. So Mayes in his last fight, he fought Cyril Gane. You know, I think that Gane's going to be a threat in the division. I thought Mayes, you know, had a decent account of himself. NASCIMENTO was on the Contender Series. You know, looked pretty decent. He looks like he has some potential. Just because of the fact that I think Mayes does have the advantage on the feet. NASCIMENTO is definitely going to look to get it to the ground, in my opinion. It is a good fight. I'm going to go with Mayes, though, by TKO. Not interested in a bet. I think the line's about even. But I do lean towards Mayes. So I'm going to take him by TKO, let's say, in the first round. Next up, we got Courtney Casey and Mara BORELLA. I've seen a lot of people on BORELLA. I'd have to disagree with that. I'd say that Courtney Casey's the better fighter. Now, BORELLA could be improving pretty drastically from fight to fight. She's training out of a few different gyms, so it's not that often that you see a fighter training out of a handful of gyms. But Casey, on the other hand, has that good experience inside the octagon, but the only issue with her is a ton of split decisions, right? She's one of those fighters where, you know, she gets ahead and then she lets her opponent come back, or her opponent gets ahead and then she comes back, but she never puts the stamp down on the fight, right? Just enough to either keep it really close, you know, or get that late comeback, but she never stamps it. So I'm, you know, always nervous. Likely to be a split decision again here, but I'll go with Courtney Casey. Next up, we got Darren Elkins and Nate Landwehr. So Landwehr made his debut a few months back, and he did get knocked out, I believe. It could have been a TKO, but regardless, it was a knee up the middle, and, you know, put him away. He is a guy that'll go in there and fight, though. You know, he likes to go for the kill. Same with Darren Elkins. You know, that terrible damage tattoo across his chest. You know, been in a ton of wars, and he was actually on a nice tear of fights that nobody thought he could win. So, you know, Darren Elkins, definitely a warrior. Landwehr, you know, looking to pick up that first win in the UFC. I'd say skill-wise and definitely experience, I do lean towards Elkins, but I just feel like Landwehr is going to go for it. And, you know, he has taken less damage. I really could see it going either way, but I'm actually going to lean towards Nate Landwehr by decision. Next up, we got Giga Chikadze and Irwin Rivera. Rivera's a late replacement within, I think, a day or two. You know, massive size advantage and reach advantage for Chikadze. But Rivera's, you know, most likely going to look to grapple here. It would not be smart to exchange with, you know, such a disadvantage as far as, you know, reach. And I'd say just kickboxing wise, Chikadze's the better fighter. So I'm going to go with Chikadze here by decision. Next up, we got Kevin Holland and Anthony Hernandez. Went back and forth a little bit on this fight. I'm going to lean towards Kevin Holland. Now, Anthony Hernandez is probably going to look to get it to the ground and pick up a submission. And I do think that Kevin Holland has some serious weakness when it comes to submission. But, you know, he has been working on his grappling. He actually was in a grappling competition not too long ago. He didn't pick up the win, but it does show that, you know, he is focusing on that. And he does have some decent experience inside the UFC, right? He's fought some high-level competition. So I'm actually going to go with Kevin Holland to pick up the win by decision, but not confident in this pick. It should be a really good fight again, and if Anthony Hernandez were to get it done, I would say it would be by submission. But again, Kevin Holland by decision in that fight. Next up, we got Matt Brown and Miguel BAEZA. This one's really tough just because of the fact Matt Brown's getting up there in age. He did have a decent performance in his last couple fights, but definitely slowing down. Miguel BAEZA, haven't been overly impressed by him, so that's what makes this a tough one. We got the younger guy who I feel like, if these two were at the same point in their career, I'd be giving it to Matt Brown all day, just because, like I said, I haven't been overly impressed by BAEZA. I'm going to lean towards Miguel in this fight, just because Matt Brown's taken a ton of damage, been around forever, 40 years old. I think he's 39 at the moment, but he'll be 40 soon. And I feel more comfortable picking BAEZA. I think some people are going to be using him in parlays and things like that. I'm not interested in that. I'm going to stay away from it, but I'll pick BAEZA by TKO. Next up, we got Yadong Song and Marlon Vera. So this is one of the lines that I think's off. I have a bet on Marlon Vera at 2.6. I definitely think that it should be close to a pick'em for this fight. Vera's on a tear, and I'm going to take Marlon Vera to get it done by decision. Next up, we got Eric Anders and Krzysztof Jotko. In this fight, I feel like Eric Anders has the power. I think he could probably put away Jotko with a big shot. He has been TKO'd in the past, but the more well-rounded fighter is going to be Jotko. So I do lean towards him for the win. This is a fight that I'm looking to live bet Jotko in. I do think that, once they mix it up a little bit, midway through the second round, if he looks good, might be something to pull the trigger on. But again, you do have to be weary of Anders' power. So I'm going to take Jotko by decision in that fight. Next up, we got Dan Ige and Edson Barboza. This is a fight I'm really looking forward to. Edson Barboza coming down to 145. But to cut to the point, Dan Ige at dog money is a bet that I'm going to take until he takes a loss. He's been getting in some really good training. He's looked really good in his last two fights. And again, it's the dog money. I think that if he was the favorite here at 1.6 or 7, I wouldn't take the shot. But he was at 2.20. So I pulled the trigger. I think that Barboza's definitely going to have a size advantage in this fight, probably a slight reach advantage as well. And he's a really good kickboxer, so I, of course, don't count out Edson Barboza. But again, I'm more comfortable with Ige at dog money. I'm going to say Ige by decision. Next up, we got Claudia Gadelha and Angela Hill. This is a tough one to call just because Gadelha hasn't looked herself. I'd say probably 5 years ago, I would have took Gadelha all day. But she is declining, in my opinion, whereas Angela Hill has looked a lot better as of late. So, I have gone back and forth. I am going to side with Claudia, but, it should be a pick'em. So, really good fight there. Gadelha by decision, though. Next up's the main event, Alistair Overeem and Walt Harris. So, my first thought was Harris just because, Overeem was really slowing down, tail end of his career. But then I thought, Overeem has all the skill, the technical ability, and the experience, so I lean towards him. But, I feel like Harris might be dedicating this fight to his daughter, and we know the tragedy that happened. So, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get the job done, but I think he's really going to be determined in this fight. So, it is a hard one for me to call. I'm going to say the fight's not going to go the distance. So I do have 4 props that I think are likely. So 2 overs and 2 unders. So I feel like Claudia and Angela and Courtney and BORELLA are going to go over. And then Overeem and Harris, as well as Mays and NASCIMENTO, are the unders. So we got 2 overs and 2 unders to look at, potentially to boost up some of the odds, on some of the other fights. So as far as bets, to run through it again, Dan Ige, the fight, the main event, not to go the distance. Claudia Gadelha and Angela Hill, the over. Marlon Vera as the dog. Potentially Krzysztof Jotko. The over on Courtney Casey and BORELLA. And the under on Mays and NASCIMENTO. And again, I have been doing pretty well in the live betting. Going to take advantage of that again. But there are a few pre-fight bets because the lines are off. So I wanted to share those ones with you guys. Of course, I'll be back for next week's card, another good one. But that's it, guys. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.